about 13. And so we went there, and he had another group that he had also that he said, oh, let me baptize my group. So I guess, I don't know if he was waiting for opportunity or what, but then we had a nice group. But we got up there, and that's where the jealousy began. And,
Jesus.
and people started looking to me very, very happy, and looking to me as being someone, hey, he didn't really do that much, but you did everything. But he had someone else baptize him. So I said, okay, it's good, it's no problem.
Well.
And so, because I'm here to do the Lord's work, and this is what I'm called to do, and I said, I'm just happy that I brought him to this point. So we worked with him even more. And so it got to the point where tension began. And because I almost began to act like they're like my children, you know. So, and he was the pastor, and we were working together. I tried to say that we're working together, but his wife didn't really particularly care for that. And so tension started to come, and she started all of a sudden come there to listen, to see what I was teaching them, and see how I was teaching them. And so it got to the point where he said, Brother Hough, I know he knows a lot, and he knows a lot more than me, but I don't think we're going to have him preach here anymore.
Oh, that mercy.
And I said, okay. I said, I'm not finished with bringing them to the point where I wanted to bring them. So he said, and then after that, and I got up, I was a little, not too happy.
Well.
And I said, so I got said at the end, when all I said, this blood is going to be in your hands. I said, when I come here, these people didn't even know how to pray. They weren't praying. And I said, and I talked to some people who had problems in their family, and they had to come to him to get prayer. I said, and the person died. I said, these type of things, you got to start building up the people. I said, and so at the point he started doing like I was teaching the way I was teaching. He kind of like, I don't know if he was saying, that seemed to be pretty successful, so he did it that way. And he's a businessman too, so you get into the point where you don't know if he's a pastor for business or a pastor for the Lord, because he helps people, and you can't fight that. You can't fight that. And so about a couple of months later, I stopped coming, and I said, okay, I'm not going to conflict with you. I'm going to let you take over and let you do what you need to do. And I was a micromanager. When there's a problem, I dealt with it. I went to the houses, I dealt with the people. I said, look, this is what you have to do to stop this. And he didn't do that. And Sharisma, she was a beautiful Christian girl. And so she had a problem with her father. And coming out of Hinduism, I don't know what happened. They didn't tell me everything. And so I went, I didn't go. So next thing I heard, she got in an accident and died. She was like 23 years old. And I was heartbroken. I said, okay. She had called me and wanted me to talk to her father, and when you're dealing with church politics, you said, okay, well, sometimes you put church politics aside and do what is right. But I didn't do it, and she passed. And so things were kind of like topsy-turvy. We have a lot, they're coming out of demonism, demonism, and they go to the Buddha mind where they have problems. He gives them a little spell, he gives them little different kinds of things, and it's very demonic here in Suriname. And so when I went to they had a burial, so I went to the burial, and then when I saw that they were doing it, they're going to burn her body like the Hindus do. And I was really upset. I said, well, I can do a testimony. I said, how can you do a testimony? You're doing exactly what the Hindus do. And they're seeing that. They're not going to see any difference. When I saw her, I'd never seen anybody with skin so nice and so beautiful. But they burned her body. And I said, who did this? And he told me, she said, Brother Hough, so his family, he wanted to appease his family, so he had her burned. And so the next day, I said, you gotta, this is nothing. If you're gonna stand for Christ, you're gonna stand for Christ and do what is right.
That's right. That's right.
So what happened, the next day, they went back to get the bones after the bones had burned on the ground. And somebody had took the bones, parts of the bones, and took it away to do, I say, like do voodoo things, magic things with it. So they sometimes they grind the bones up and give it to people to drink if they're sick, or if they want to have a curse on somebody. It's that strong to there. I said, the Lord told you that that's not right. You should have buried her. And but then, that's one of the things that we were confronted with. We put a lot of time, a lot of months in, with the people, and in church politics, and Satan comes in and does his thing. And like I said, there's a lot of demonic things happening there, and there's a lot of demonic things happening here. There's a lot of temples being built up that you don't know about here. There's a lot of people who are doing things, putting curses on different things, putting people doing things with their family, and one of the things that I'm surprised how the Church of Satan here is really active, and children are being sacrificed that people don't even know about in the United States. We're oblivious to a lot of things that are happening around demonically. And you ask yourself, why is this such a struggle or a fight? I think the Lord is allowing things to happen. And the church at the time, and now, is kind of like losing its grip as far as their faithfulness. And when that begins to happen, we're going to see a lot more changes happening here. But there's a lot of demonic happening here in this country that people don't know about. And a lot of praying when it comes to homosexuality, and of course that biggest thing that everybody knows about the music business, what's happening in the music business. And these people actually pray that whatever their God would bless their music to affect people. So when you get out there and hear that beat, you rock a little bit, people pray for that. And then when you talk about the maestro of music, Lucifer, he got some beats that we don't even know about that can rock us.
Lord Jesus.
Yes, have mercy.
The minister of music, Mr. Lucifer, he knows some stuff that he hasn't yet given to us yet. And that's why we got to be on our knees. We got to be on our knees. We go to my brother's church in Nashville. He has a church. And one thing is the powerful thing is music. That music get a hold of you. That bass and how they sing, you can't help but move. But that's what it's about today. In a lot of our churches, especially Afro-American churches, everything's set up like a theater now when you go into different churches. The lights shine different colors. And the people get out there when they sing, sometimes you have to say, should I clap or not?
Well.
You know, but I'm just saying how there are things happening around us if we're not going to be faithful to what God calls us to do. And we're going to get caught up in it. And there's so many things happening. I'd like to begin with, I didn't pray. I should have given a little testimony. I'd like to begin just a short word. I'm not going to be long. I'm going to cut it short now since we have time. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, as I come to you, I want to thank you for all that you've done and all that you're doing. We want to thank you for this glorious gospel. We want to thank you for the gospel that keeps our equilibrium intact. Things around us are just going here and going there. So much confusion. Father, but your word stabilizes us. And we trust you. And we look to you. Oh, Father, the spiritual world is out there right now. And many of us are pretty much oblivious to what is going on. Oh, Father, it's a lot of evil. And it's a lot of these disciples are working harder than we are when it comes to the Lord's work. They're praying. They're asking for people to be filled with filth and things of that nature. Families to be broken so that they can please Lucifer, Satan himself. You said we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers.
Yes.
Things in high places.
Yes.
Oh, Father, help us as we look to you. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
I'd like to just maybe about 10 or 15 minutes and just like the call to fellowship. The call to fellowship. In 1 John 1:7, it says, if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. And the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us of all sin. That's 1 John 1:7. We have to ask ourselves, what is this light that we're talking about? And I believe that John 12:8 says, I am the light. Jesus spoke again to them saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
Yes.
1 John 1:5, it says, God is light.
Yes.
And this is the message which we have heard from him and declare to you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all.
Amen.
Then we have here, it says, but how does this light communicate to us? In Psalms 119:105, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path.
Yes.
When we look at this light that is in action, we say, we can go back to something basic. What did the Lord say to Adam when he first made him? Or when after he made him and things began? He says, Adam in Genesis 2:16, 16 through 17, and Jehovah God commanded the man, saying, you may freely eat of every tree in the garden, but you shall not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For in that day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. And then what happened after he made the woman? Genesis 3:8 through 11. He says, and they heard the voice of Jehovah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Jehovah in the middle of the trees of the garden. And Jehovah called to Adam and said to him, where are you? Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden. I was afraid because I am naked and I hid myself. And in Genesis 3:11, he said, who told you that you were naked?
What do you mean it was naked?
Have you eaten of the tree that I commanded you that you should not eat?
Yes.
What have you done? What have you done? Genesis 3:13, and he looked, and the Jehovah said to the woman, what is this that you've done? And the woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. The word here for deceive is now shall, is cause to delude or to forget. She said, he caused me to forget. Isn't that what sin does when it comes? It causes us to forget. We see in James 1:13, and it says, let no man say, I am tempted from God, for God is not tempted by evils, and he tempt no one. But each one is tempted by his lust, being drawn away and seduced by them. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin. And sin, which is fully formed, brings forth death.
Yes, it does.
This word for death is thanatos. It means a physical and a spiritual death. It has both connotations. And another thing, it means that sin renders this death useless. It's trash. That's what it means. Death in your life means your life has become useless. Useless to God, useless to man, useless to your friends. When you start lying, when you start not telling the truth, you bring this sin in your relationships, and your relationship becomes useless. What is it good for? Because you're lying and you're not telling the truth. Nothing can come of it. When we sin, that's the same thing with us. It renders us useless. Only good to be thrown away. That's why you can say it brings with death. It makes everything in your life useless.
Yes.
You can't use it anymore when you sin. The Lord said, what have you done? We see now what it meant. And that he said, what have you done? 2 Timothy 3:1-7. Know this also, that in the last days grievous times will come at hand, for men will be self-lovers, money lovers, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to their parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, unyielding, false accusers, without self-control, savage, despisers of good, traitors, reckless, puffed up, lovers of pleasures, rather than the lovers of God, having the form of godliness, but denying the power of it.
Yes.
Even turn away from those, it says. For those who creep in houses, led captive, silly women loaded with sins, led away with different kinds of lust, ever learning and never being able to come to the full knowledge of the truth.
Amen.
Isn't that kind of what we have today? People are always learning. We're always having conferences. We're always having, we're going to these different big places where we have these conventions. Always learning, but never able to come to the full knowledge of truth. Isn't that what's happening today? Just learning. We know so much, but is truth being practiced? When we sin, we don't know what horrors we set loose in our lives. These are chastisements that we set loose in our lives when we sin or we don't tell the truth. We don't know what things we're sowing. Just like Adam, just like Eve when she sinned. And the Lord said, what have you done? Sometimes the Lord said, I believe when we sin or we're not doing the truth or we're not doing it right, he said, what are you doing? You don't know what you're sowing. You don't know where that sin's going to lead to. What are you doing? You're a child of mine. What are you doing?
You can let yourself.
The consequences of what we say and do. We can say we're saved and Lord, I'm sorry. But that sin will go on.
Yes.
Until we confess it and repent and turn from it. Or we go and ask our brother for forgiveness. We need to take care of it. What have you done? Like I said, he said it to Michael, what are you doing, Michael? What are you saying? You know that's not true. You know that's not right. Do you know what you're sowing, Michael?
Amen.
Let us look at the example that Jesus did in the world.
Yes. What is he doing?
John 13:2-11. You know, I'll go back to with Adam and Eve. God was always reaching out to Adam. He went to Adam and Eve and said, okay, what did you do? It was like, he didn't condemn them. He asked them, giving them a chance to repent and turn from what they were doing or had done. But they didn't do it. That's the kind of God we have. He doesn't go out and condemn you. He lets you give the answer, and so you kind of be convicted of what you've done by saying what you said. And let's look at Jesus, how he handled it. This we're talking about the light. These are lighting us, influencing us of how God reacts and how he works. When the supper had ended, the devil now having put into the heart of Judas, this is John 13:2-5, Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and went to God, he rose up from supper and laid aside his garment. He took a towel and girded himself, and he poured water into the basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. Here he knows that Judas is going to deceive him, and he goes and washes feet. Is that something? That tells us how we should treat one another. Well, you know that sister over there, she's not right. You know what's going over there. You know him, don't you? But how did Christ treat Judas, who betrayed him? Who had him to go through the suffering that he did? How we should treat each other. We should have the spirit of being able to do whatever we can to help, of humility. And not take an attitude, that sister's no good. Okay, look what she's doing. Christ gave Judas a chance to repent and turn.
Yes.
And later on, he said this in John 13. After he had washed their feet and had taken his garment and had reclined again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? Do you know? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say, well, for I am. If then I am the Lord and teacher, wash your feet. You also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is no greater than his master. Neither is he who is greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. He didn't say blessed if you are if you know them.
Well,
That's what, we got a lot of people know a lot of stuff, don't we?
Yes, Lord.
But he said, blessed are you if you do them.
Yes.
You know what he did to Judas was pretty remarkable. He knows what he's going to do. He had communion with him. He spoke with him. And still, after he supped with him, what happened? And he dipped that bread there and they ate it. What happened? Satan entered him.
Yeah.
Had an opportunity to stop. Had an opportunity to change. And it's kind of remarkable. Satan, he didn't allow another demon to come and take this job over. He did it himself. He kind of said, well, it's getting a little close here. Christ is doing all this stuff to Judas. He might change his mind. So let me go on and take over. But his heart was hardened. And Christ, he said, do what you have to do. And do it quickly. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. Man was made for fellowship. The word for fellowship here is koinonia. It means communion. It means partnership. Adam and Eve had a partnership with God. Christ's example with Judas, he had a partnership, but he betrayed him. And he had a partnership with his disciples. But there are principles for this true fellowship that the believers is to be under. One is we have to walk in the light.
Yes.
So the blood of Christ can cleanse us from all
Yes,
sin
indeed.
as we
Yes,
commune
indeed.
together.
ah,
The goal of the gospel is to create fellowship.
Yes, yes.
We need to fellowship with Christ. That's what he wants us to do. Fellowship with God. People were made to fellowship.
yes, sir.
What is the basis for the fellowship? The gospel is the basis for the fellowship. We are part of a fellowship, a common God, a common Savior, a common faith.
Amen.
In John 15, it calls us to be in fellowship with Christ, you could do nothing without me. The vine. Fellowship is essential to the life of the body. The gospel is the reconciliation of man's fellowship with God. You know, we have fellowship with one another, but if we're not walking in the light,
Well,
it's a problem.
yes, it really
And
is.
that's what we have today.
Yes, sir.
We have brothers and sisters, family.
Mm.
Can you imagine if we all were walking in the light of Christ and having fellowship with one another so that
Yes, sir.
the blood of Christ will clean us? How effective our fellowship would be.
My goodness. Light up the world. Light up the world.
And each other.
Yes, indeed.
You know, because we could go to and talk with some brothers and sisters and we start talking, we say, I know, inside, I say, okay, but you know but we're not in the spirit together. We're not in God's light as we communicate with one another. The gospel is the reconciliation of man's relationship with man, with husband and wife. When husband and wife are walking in the light, what is going to be happening with the relationship, with the fellowship with one another? It's going to be good, huh?
Amen. Yes, indeed.
When sisters and brothers are walking in the light with each other, the fellowship is going to be good, huh?
Yes, indeed.
When a brother and the brothers walking in the light with each other, they're going to have a good relationship.
Cleansing the blood. Cleansing the blood. Glorious.
When an employer with an employee walks in the light, it's not going to be in the hanky-panky.
Well,
Because Christ is in the middle of it.
well.
When the police
Glorious.
is walking with citizens in the light, we wouldn't have this problem of shooting. And that's what do me a little bit. You know, I know it's disheartening to say disheartening, but if we were walking in light as Christians, and the dear brother read this morning, if my people are called by my name, and I would say, walking in the light,
Well, Lord. Well, Lord.
it'd be a big change here, wouldn't it?
Holy Spirit.
These people who say they're Christians, they Ku Klux Klan, or
Lord have mercy.
they're in these different groups, and they say they're Christians, we would be having problems. They do what they were supposed to do. People do what they're supposed to do, right? We wouldn't have this. But there's a force out there that's subverting all kinds of unity,
Spiritual wickednesses.
spiritual wickednesses. Things that are happening around us is so counter to do what is right. And you can't wonder why can't he just do what's right? It's so obvious. That's what we say, don't we? But when spirits are binding people, attitudes are being binded. You know, there's spirits of drunkenness. People get drunk, drugs. These things I really believe are backed by demons.
Yeah.
It's so, how can I say powerful? Because it's the spiritual world that we're fighting against. Giving close. Without walking in the light, we can't have true fellowship. In Psalms 119 and 105 says, "A lamp unto my feet, and a light upon my path." And in Proverbs 6:23, it also says, "The commandments is a lamp, and the law is a light. Reproofs of instructions are a way of life." The commandment harmonizes with God's will, and commandments what is to be done and forbids what is to be left undone. Sometimes there are things that we need to do. We leave it undone. We think, oh, I did this. But he said, don't leave. There's certain things that have to be left undone. You know the scribes? Woe to you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithes and mints and dill and cumin, and you have left undone the weightier matters of law, judgment, mercy, and faith. We're so busy with the